Hi everybody, so I've got myself a DV1, a Devilbiss DV1, and I've got it off eBay, used second hand. So the guy says he's only used it twice, but we'll see. There should be an outer like a little sliding cover that goes around the outside, orange I think it is, with it, but it is not there, but it matters little really. So we'll see what we got. I was going to compare a few bits to the Gti Pro Lite, which is probably my favourite gun. So what we got a DV1, which looks in pretty good nick actually. It's the digital version, and I mean I got it second hand because effectively you save about 100 quid. Now you do run the risk, of course, that it's not what they say it is, but you know, basically as I say, you save 100 quid. So hopefully I get what I think I'm getting. So he said all the tools are there, which they seem to be. Little spanner, I'm not quite sure what it is. Oh yes, what's that for? Is that for underneath there? I'm not sure what that's for. If anybody knows what that's for, then give us a shout. It's got like a little castle top on it. That's your spanner for the little filter there. That's the spanner for the tip. And you've got a little star key there as well. Still got a DV1 sticker, slightly dirty, but a DV1 sticker there. Devilbiss label and the instructions. Now, for those that don't know, the Clear comes with a white pot, or should do. Comes with a white pot. Pot hasn't been used apparently, which it doesn't look like it has. There's a bit of dust on it, or probably from this stuff. Which is like a felty cardboard. Yeah, hasn't been used. Same pot as the Gti Pro Lite, so exactly the same thread. Yeah, just go straight in like that. So we won't bother with any of that because we don't need to. Put that light out of the way. Give us a bit of room. There's two tanks there, by the way. I've managed to get two the same. With a project tank, and I've managed to get another one, so I've got them in the same condition. I'm going to do a few comparisons with different products and spray guns. Ooh. That's the idea of it anyway. So as we do with these unboxings, we just have a little bit of a strip down. Now I've never used one of these yet, but presumably they come the same way as normal, come off the same way as normal, so they haven't really changed much. You can see, hopefully you can see, cameras on my head. So the design is the same, the way they've got the little I don't know what you'd call that, little like clip, little hexagon clip I suppose you'd call it, in there holding the front in. But otherwise it looks okay. But the reason I got the TE20 is because it's very similar air feed. So if we can look at the holes, you see it's very similar to the TE20 cap. The air holes are the same size, so you've got a large one at the top, small one at the bottom, and they're very similar in size and very similar in air consumption as well. So that's that. Let's take the needle out first, because otherwise people will be shooting me. So spring looks very similar, if not the same. Needle's changed, doesn't it, by the looks of it? Now spring's longer there. That spring looks the same spring as on the SRI Pro Lite. Yeah, so the needle has changed. Now I know with these you have to be careful of this bit here, because this part here is actually aluminium. It's black anodized aluminium. You have to be careful not to mark it. So use the original spanner and you should be okay. So that comes off like that, which is the same as the old one basically, which we'll, let's get a little spanner out. Where are they? This one, which is the same as the Gti Pro Lite. Different tip obviously, but very similar idea. This is a 1.3. I've got a 1.3. Now they put on them 1.3C and they put on them 1.3 or 1.2 or 1.1, B for base, but I suspect they are exactly the same. I'm after a base gun at the moment, but I don't want to pay full money for it, so I'm just looking out for one that's pretty good. As you can see, I keep my guns immaculate as possible. So you'll see here on the Gti Pro Lite, this is like a sealing ring or gasket. Gasket would probably be the best way to put it, and it just keeps the ports separate so that you don't get bubbling through the pot. And if you do get bubbling through the pot in these, that's what's happening. It's normally coming past that gasket. So you'll see this is quite different to the old one. I know there's a ring here which should come off, he says. So the ring comes off, and that shows you 2 screws. Now, I wasn't going to take those screws out, but maybe we will, for the benefit of everybody. Underneath those screws should be, he says, the same as that, as far as I know. No, that's not it. Looks like it's slightly smaller. Should be that one. That's the one. Yeah, so under these screws, as I say, should be the same gasket as that. And, you know, the guy who had this said he had a SATA and he got this to try and he didn't like it. And these guns are very much Marmite-y, and if you don't get Marmite in the country you're viewing this, it's a yeast extract that some people like me absolutely love, and some people really loathe. I know you have Vegemite in Australia, which is a similar thing. It's not actually the same, but it's a similar thing. So people say Marmite, meaning you either love it or hate it. So yeah, so there underneath is our gasket. So that's the equivalent to that. But because this is screwed in, I would guess that you don't take this off each time. I mean, I take this off each time I use the gun and clean it. Obviously, I'm not a professional painter, so I'm not using it all the time. If you were, you would maybe clean it at the end of the day or whatever. It depends what you got in it. If you've got like 2K stuff that's going off, then you can't really leave it for too long because it will set in there and makes it much more difficult. But I would suspect this probably has a better job of sealing because it's more permanent and the screws will hold it down rather than relying just on the pressure, as this does, the pressure of the tip pushing it down. So what else we got? We got a digital gauge, which you know, is by the by really, but it came with a digital gauge, so that's what I've got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this together, and then I'm going to turn the camera back on, and we'll just do a couple of little bits of spraying of some thinners and look at the gauge and see how the gauge regulates at the top. Well, as I understand it, you aim for 1.5 on the top gauge, which should be equivalent to about 2 at the bottom gauge, but we'll see. As I say, I'll put this back together and I'll come back and we'll just have a little play with it. Hi everybody, so we're back again. I've got the ANI gauge just on the end of the gun, and we're just checking that 1.5 is equivalent to about 2 bar. 1.5, 2 bar, yeah, so it is, which is the old, basically the same as the old Gti Pro Lite, and most of them, to be fair. So we've got the normal adjustment on top for the fan, size of the fan, that should be a spot, yep, and then bring it out for a fuller fan. Now don't worry about this separating, it's because it's only thinners, and when you've got thinners in it, it will separate, but when you've got clear coat in it, it will be absolutely fine. I mean, obviously I haven't tried this gun, but I will do it. And the way to reduce that is just reduce the pressure, and you should get a better pattern to give you an idea. But with clear coat in it, the pattern will be fine, because most guns do that. If you put them at the correct pressure for the application that you're doing, and you've got just thinners in there, because it's so thin, it will come out normally top and bottom heavy, or slightly bottom heavy, slightly top heavy. But when you've got the correct viscosity in there, it works absolutely fine. That's normally the case anyway. We can't really see the That's the fan. Now the end cap isn't interchangeable. It's not the same. Not you know, just a different colour cap. It is a different thread, so it doesn't actually go on there. But yeah, that's about it really. Fluid is effectively 2 turns, I think. 1, 2. Anything more than 2 turns, and it doesn't move the needle. Doesn't move the needle back anymore. So if people say like 3 turns out or 4 turns out, it makes no difference. Once you get to 2 turns out, it's the same. And the Gti Pro Lite's about the same. It's about 2 3/4 turns. Anything more than that, and it's not making any difference. If you can, let's unhook that. If you can understand me, when you push that there against, he says, having it done up. That's obviously lets the air through, and then you're pushing against the needle there. And you'll see that if you do it up like that, by turning it 1 turn, you're still getting movement in the lever. You see the lever slowly moving back to 2 turns. After that, it's not going back any further. So 2 turns out is the maximum you can have the fluid on this anyway. So, well, I thought it was worth doing a quick unboxing on it. Obviously, I'll be putting it for a bit of use and do some videos with it and see how it compares to the other ones. That's the whole idea of getting 2 tanks, is to see how it compares with the other stuff. Alright then, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Cheers, bye bye.